Hello, I want to make a simple video introducing us to Google Forms and how to create a student quiz and use an add-on called Flubaroo to grade that quiz. So I'm going to start by going and opening my Google Chrome browser. Once my browser is open, I'm going to make sure that I navigate to www.google.com. That's a standard tab here. I'm just going to reach up to my Google tab. Once I am at Google, what I'm going to be able to do next is reach up to my sign in button and click sign in. And I'm going to use my district login credentials to sign in. I have more than one Google account, and I also am a Salon group member, so I have credentials there as well. But using my district sign in and credential, I'm going to go ahead and sign into Google. Once it recognizes me as an individual, I have access to my individual Google Drive, which is what I need to access in order to get to Forms. And this is where I access my Google Apps, the easiest place to access apps. And I can reach right out to Drive and click on Drive. While I'm here at Drive, I want to give you a brief introduction to the two appearances of Google Drive. This is the traditional appearance of Drive. This is the way we are probably used to seeing it. With our My Drive, Shared with Me, Starred, Recent, Trash, and more here on the side, a Create button to create new documents or folders or anything else that we would want. You're likely to see this Try the New Drive option, and I want to show you the new drive so you can get a little glance at the appearance of it. This is the other way that Google Drive can appear, where you see your folders in this format. You see your individual files as thumbnail previews. Instead of Shared with Me, we now have Incoming. My Drive will still have all of your subfolders and things in it. And instead of a Create button, you have New, as in New Document, New Folder, New whatever you would like to create. It is immaterial which form you work in. They are functioning exactly the same. The only difference is in style and form. I find that most people are in the old Drive, so I'm going to go ahead and stay in the older version. That's the more traditional view of Drive, and I'm going to go ahead and close that down so I'm not looking at that warning anymore. If I am starting with my Drive here and I want to create a Google form, I'm going to do that by reaching up to the Create button. And after Create, I'm going to select to create a form. The Google form creation process is pretty simple. I usually choose not to require a login to view the form, but if you do require a login to view the form, it will automatically collect the name of the person who filled in the form, and as you notice here, and it will be able to collect the date and give you some other information about who filled the form out. If you're going to request student information as part of the form, it's not necessary to require a login. Generally speaking, I find that if anyone has any difficulty logging in from a remote location or from a non-district, non-network site, I usually choose to not require a login to view the form. It will make the form accessible to people outside the domain. And that's fine. I don't care if I fish in an occasional response from someone that I don't need. If I don't send them the link, they can't really fill out my form anyway. Once I'm in form, if you take a look, it's a pretty straightforward and simple process to create it. I can title the form here, and I'm just going to say we want to call it a student quiz. And I'm going to go to my first question on the quiz, and let's say we're going to do a simple form, so I'm going to get a name of student. And I don't think the student needs any help text for that. This isn't going to be multiple choice. It's going to be a text box. I am going to require them to answer the question before they can go on. And then I'm going to say I want to add an item. The next thing I may want to add is class period. And again, if I'm comfortable leaving that as a text that's required, I can add another item. I'm going to make that, let's say, subject in case I have more than one prep. If I want to change now, let's say I'm only going to give them a couple of choices. I want them to choose from a list. I only teach two things. My first option would be, say, my history prep. And the second option might be my science prep for my first year teaching. I also want to make sure I require a question on everything that I'm going to make sure the student needs to answer. I'm going to go ahead and add another item. And in this case, I'm actually going to ask a student a question. And let's say, what is the largest of the Earth's oceans? And again, let's say I want to give them a multiple choice this time, and the first choice is Atlantic. It helps if I spell Atlantic right, even if I'm doing it for students. Pacific, let's say the Arctic Ocean is one of my choices, and Indian Ocean is going to be another. And I'm going to require that question as well. And now I can add as many questions as I need to, but for brevity's sake in our video demonstration here, I'm going to go ahead and presume that I'm done kind of editing my form. This is the only information that I'm going to need, so I'm going to say done. And I have an opportunity to do a couple of things at this point, and I'm probably going to want to do both. So first, let's take a look at the live form and see what it's going to look like. When I send students to a link to fill it out, this is what they're going to see. They're going to fill in their name, their class period, the subject. They're going to pick their answer. They're going to say submit. Okay, that's not too tough from the student point of view. Pretty clear. When I as a teacher want to see responses, I'm going to go and click on my responses tab. But before I do that, I'm going to make a couple of 3 student responses just so that I can have some samples to work with. And in order to do that, I've already made a mistake and I'm editing my form here. I want to go back to my live form and I'm going to put in a student name. And I'm going to say Joe's in my first period class. That's a history class, and he thinks the largest ocean is the Atlantic. We're going to go ahead and submit that for Joe. If Joe wants to submit another response, I can choose that setting earlier on, and it doesn't matter. I can let Joe answer multiple times if he wants to. I'm only going to accept his first response to me, so that's not really going to matter. Again, if I go back to my live form again, I'm, say, a secondary student, and now I'm Josephine's student, and maybe I'm in my class period 2, and that's going to be my science class, and she's going to say that the correct answer is the Pacific. Now, I'm going to go ahead and submit another response. Now, let me go ahead and close this as if I were a student. I'm going to go back. I'm hitting the live form again as an original entry. And now I'm going to say, this is me. Class period is required, so that's fine. I've got to put it in. It doesn't matter. And again, similarly, I'm going to answer the thing that I know to be correct. Right, and that's what I'm going to do when I want to create my key. This is part of the process for automatic grading, which is going to come later. So submit. Now I've got 3 answers in there in the form. One of those form answers is the one that I want to use for my key later. But let's take a look first at what responses look like. So when I choose show responses, I've got options. I'm going to usually choose a new spreadsheet, student quizzed responses. If I'm going to use the same form and I want multiple spreadsheets of responses, like I want to use this quiz again next year, then I'm going to say a new sheet in an existing spreadsheet, and it will drop them on a new tab. So I will get a spreadsheet that has all of my series of responses from this particular form each set of responses on a new tab. I can always select Always Create a New Spreadsheet, which means it will always create a new one, not a new tab, and it will ask me for a name every time. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as it is, student quiz responses. I'm set okay to create a new spreadsheet instead of new tabs in a spreadsheet. And I'm going to go ahead and say create. Now it's going to show me my responses that I've gotten to my quiz. They are time-stamped. They are the name of student, the response, and class period, subject, the other things that I asked for. One of the things that I wanted to show, in addition to just how to create a simple form, get responses, and where you're going to see those responses, is how I might be able to grade these responses using an add-on called Flubaroo. Now those add-ons are available here from add-ons, and so I'm going to say get add-ons, and I'm going to type in Flubaroo. And even though it's right here at the top, but I'm going to type Flubaroo. There's Flubaroo. It adds on free. I'm going to click it. Flubaroo would like to know some of these things. That's all fine with me, given what it's going to help me do. I'm going to say OK. Once you've collected student submissions in this sheet, choose Grade Assignment from the Flubaroo menu. Want to try it? The short answer, of course, is going to be, yeah, I do. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say Flubaroo, and I want to say Grade Assignment. And Flubaroo takes me through a few simple steps. It's going to attempt to recognize things, and in this particular case, it's doing so. It's recognizing the student name and the class period, and the subject, I want to tell them that that's just a student identifier, or I can tell it to skip grading that. And I'm, going to leave a 1-point value on what's the largest of the Earth's oceans. Okay, I'm going to say continue. And in the Flubaroo process, now it says, which one of these do you want to use as the key? Well, of course, I've entered one of them correctly with the right answer, and that's the one that I've labeled teacher, so I pick that one to use for key, and I say, okay, continue. Flubaroo says it's grading my assignment, and when Flubaroo is done, it tells me grading is complete, a new worksheet has been created, and it's called grades. There's some additional details here and some things that you can adjust, but if I say view grades, then it's taking me straight to the spreadsheet. Here are my 2 student responses. One is right, one is wrong. It's telling me that 50% of my students got it correct, and anything that less than 60% of students get correct will be tagged yellow for you, so you have an idea. This is something I may want to revisit. I know this has been a super short and super simple quick introduction and video for Google Forms and Flubaroo, but I want you to know that you can contact me anytime, and I can come by your room and we can look at this in a more detailed way and in a way that's more specific to you. Contact me at hschmidt@alvinisd.net anytime, and I'll make myself available.